All right. Eric, introduce yourself, dude.
Hey, Lucas. I'm Eric Jorn. I'm with Kaizen CPs and Advisors, but more importantly, I am the Chicagoland chapter leader for the Midwest Auto Care Alliance.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So first of all, let's dig into a little bit about.
I'm Kent with the Institute, and we're proud sponsors of this show because we wholeheartedly believe in what Lucas and David are doing for the automotive industry. Like them, our mission is to enlighten and empower the automotive community, challenging everyone to pursue excellence and achieve remarkable success. As a listener, you're a vital part of this whole journey of growth and development, and your participation is shaping our industry. And for that, we thank you. If ever you need assistance on your path towards a better business and a better life, remember the Institute is here for you. We'll provide a comprehensive assessment of your business, identify opportunities for improvement, and help you get moving towards your goals. And if you need any more reason, then we'll help you make more money, remove some stress from your life, and give you a plan for growth. This assessment doesn't cost you a thing. Feel free to reach out through Lucas and David, or you can visit us at wearetheinstitute.com. Enjoy the show.
Kaizen and how you got there. I like for folks to tell their story a little bit. Tell us a little bit of your background and how you ended up where you're at.
Yeah, a long time ago, I'd call it a lifetime ago, I was a service advisor at the dealer level at a Toyota dealer. This is way back when I was going to school for actually just general business. Ended up finding my path in accounting.
Okay.
Finished school, still was writing service. Actually got myself chased out by just general dealer politics. There was a period of time I thought I was going to be maybe a DSPM for Toyota. But hopped out of the industry and really just got my first few accounting jobs and found myself working with small business owners. Found that really fueled my passion a lot more than just doing debits and credits and in the background general accounting items. And after I got a few years of experience, I went to the owner of the firm I was with, and I said, "Hey, I spent 5 years inside of the automotive industry learning about how a shop's run. What metrics do we track, and what other things that I know about around the shops that I could bring into the accounting world?"
Right.
Fast forward to, I think it was about 2019, I went to a ASA conference, actually. Met a few individuals, started building some relationships, and we just started working with shop after that, and slowly it's snowballed. And I think maybe you can see on my shirt here now, we're even branded to work with the automotive industry, the automotive aftermarket as a whole.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So, and it's pretty rare, right? Like there's maybe one or two others that specifically do that. Yep. And I think it's pretty interesting because it's something that a lot of shops ask about. And you tell me your thoughts. One of the things that I was taught from my first coach, because I went into business and I very much depended on my accountant. And I guess I just had this idea as a guy who had never been in business, who had never had anything to do aside from working in the family business with a business, that my accountant was there to be my financial advisor, and he was going to tell me if the business was healthy or not. And he did all the stuff on paper and it just looked good. Right.
Yeah. And
I hired this business coach, and he said, "Lucas, if your accountant, tells you you're in trouble, you've been in trouble for a long time." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "He's a tax professional, dude. He doesn't know anything about this business. What are you talking about?" Yeah. And so tell us your perspective on that, because when you have somebody who is automotive specific, automotive focused, it is a little bit different. What are the variances in that? What's the difference with that?
Yeah. So here's what we see happen. You can have a really good, strong relationship with an accountant, especially if you've worked with them for 10, 20, 30 years.
Right.
They can get to a point where they really know and understand your business, your shop. But that takes a really long time for that to happen. And we know how fast, especially today, how fast the industry is moving, how fast your business is evolving over a 5-10 year period.
Right.
When you work with an automotive-based accounting firm, we come in and we understand the industry. You don't have to educate us about, what's your business model? What do we sell?
Right.
How does that need to be structured on our P&L? We partner with all the coaching companies. We work together to take their chart of accounts that they use to coach your shop. We install that in your books right away because, A, you're investing a lot of time, energy, and funds into working with this coaching company. You should really maximize the return you're getting on that investment. And we want to quick start that as much as possible, alongside helping you understand your books as a whole. There's really good shop coaches out there, and they understand a good amount of finances around a shop.
Yeah.
We start talking balance sheet metrics and things a little bit more in depth on the financial side of things. That's probably not their best avenue, right? They're going to do a really good job setting you up with systems and processes, probably the first time you're actually measuring the financial performance of your shop.
Yeah.
But when they're talking about accumulating wealth and health inside of your shop, that's where your accountant really needs to come in. And if they understand your business, that relationship just moves so much faster than if you're starting from ground zero. And maybe I work with a shop because it's the guy down my road and that's where I have my car serviced.
Right. I see all too often, you bring up chart of accounts. And I work with a lot of small guys who are just kind of starting up, and I don't want anybody to ever feel like I felt when I was like in the worst moment with my shop. And like, I try and help these guys the best I can. I'm no expert by any means, but I try and work with them and give them feedback and give them answers. And I'll say, hey, let's look at a P&L and just see what you have. And then they'll open it up and it'll be income, expense, cost of goods. And that's all that's on there. And I'm like, hey, I don't know about this. And you start asking them to change it, and they're like, my CPA says I can't change that. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, this is going to be really hard to manage this. And then I'll pull one of mine up. I'm like, look, we budget based on the percentage of income. And so if you want to know where you fall in line with the rest of the industry, we have to have this data to be able to determine, is the business healthy or not? Right? Where do we sit? Because a lot of these guys come in, and I made a reel the other day, and we're talking about shops that, I made $2 million last year. I can't pay my bills. Maybe you should have made 4, right?
Yeah,
right? Without numbers, we don't know. Yeah. And so I think it's such a dangerous spot, especially for the small business. And it really looks like that's kind of what you're focused in is the smaller guys who are kind of not necessarily just starting up, but people who need that leg up. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously when you first start, businesses that have enough capital they can buy all the best tools, get the best advice, right? They're in a great shape, right? Well, capital infused businesses can really quick start their route to success. And we'll be happy to provide a startup shop with whatever advice they need. I'll give them a template for chart of accounts. Chances are they probably can't afford to work with us to start, right? Especially if they're just hanging in a shingle and they're starting off and they're probably wrenching and running the back office all themselves. Yeah. But when you need to start really sitting in that business owner seat where I have to operate my shop as a business owner, that's the perfect time to bring in a firm like us. Because we're going to take off those back office functions off your plate, right? When you're ready to shed that without going out and hiring a full-time employee. Because we know how hard it is to manage employees and even find employees. And then you might run into, hey, we're missing out on tax strategy, financial strategy, and other things that come into having this relationship, to having that advisor. So we look to take that work off the owner's plate and then provide them extra value and giving them insights into their business to, at the end of the day, put more money into either the shop's pocket or their pocket personally.
Absolutely. And here's the thing that I've learned is down there at the bottom, you don't have enough throughput that it's that big of a deal for you to do it yourself. Right? And it's very good to learn to do it yourself and do some research and know how your chart of accounts looks and begin to understand, because when you put the data in and then you see what your P&L looks like and you see what your balance sheet looks like and your cash flow statement looks like, it starts to tell you, hey, here's how this works. And it teaches you as you go, you get some understanding. Now, it may not be clean. And when you do hire somebody like you might have to go in and start fresh, whatever it is, but you understand because you put that dollar bill in there and you watch something move on the chart of accounts or on the P&L and you said, aha, that makes sense to me, right?
Absolutely.
But when you start getting bigger, because that's kind of where I've been here recently, is it's like my wife had always done all of AP and all of everything. And now we've got another business we're trying to run as well. And it's like, dude, hey, you got 400 bills a month to pay. That's a lot. And you've got a lot of different moving pieces and a lot of transactions. And that one credit card deposit now has $100,000 in it instead of 500. There were 40 tickets in that. And it's a lot to begin to work through one little issue. And if you we talk all the time about mapping, right? So like I use back office to map into QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Bro, you get one mapping off and you go for 6 months. I will delete that QuickBooks file. I will start over fresh. I don't care. I'm good.
I love that mentality. We start new files all the time only because just the time investment, right? It's at a point when a car is no longer worth fixing.
Yeah.
Right. Time to buy a new car. We do that with QuickBooks files probably relatively regularly. Oftentimes that culprit is, hey, somebody says it's a good idea to turn on back office. And I'm feeding stuff in from back office, but I didn't know how to map it right. And I'll say the folks at back office do a really good job coaching you from the start. But if you're not on top of it and you're not paying attention every day, it turns into a mess. And if you're not really tight in your shop management system, it turns it into a mess. And there's no going back once you get that thing can get too far gone real fast.
I'm just going to tell on myself, okay? I'm going to tell you this little thing that happened. You know how QuickBooks does the automated categorization now?
Yep.
Braxton, that does the podcast editing and some of the production work for us, not for this show, for the other shows. Braxton calls me one day and he said, Lucas, I didn't look at my 1099 and I promise you did not pay me that much. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's a lot. My accountant said there's got to be something wrong because I don't have that much money. And I'm like, uh-oh. And I went and looked and it had auto-categorized like all kinds of things in Braxton's. And I clicked the button and I sent that 1099 and Braxton's like, right? And like, that's all it takes. And then all of a sudden you can't use that data and you're having to go back and you're cleaning it up and having somebody, especially when you grow, to get you to that point that can just look at it and you get that paperwork at the end of the month or whenever it is. And you look at it and you say, hey, I'm good. The other thing about working with somebody like you is, hey, I know you may not want to hear from me, but you're going to owe taxes at the end of the year. Yeah. Let's start working on what does this look like and preparing, because paying taxes is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm sorry, David. Don't stroke on me. But like, the fact that we're profitable is great. And my dad's accountant, I'll never forget. Every single year was, hey, we've got to get this P&L to 0%. How are we going to get this to 0% so we don't have to pay taxes? And I look back now and I'm like, that was asinine.
Yeah. We don't want to waste money to save 10, 12%, or even sometimes less in taxes.
Yeah, for sure. But it happens all the time. Yeah. Now, that chart of accounts, I will just tell you, they called the other day and they said, hey, we've got the chart of accounts down to 88 pages. And I'm like, do what? They said, we don't want to start a new one, but we're down to 88 pages. We've got down from 161 pages. Wow. And I'm like, let's just start a new one. Can we just start a new one right now? Brand new? We'll figure it out.
That's so funny.
We'll throw some journal entries in here and start. Like, dude, I print a P&L and my printer just runs out of paper every time. I'm over this at this point.
And even if it all had stuff in it, how do you make decisions when you have that much data?
Dude.
Right? We're not, especially at the shop owner level.
Yeah.
I'm not an accountant. You're not an accountant, right? I mean, I'll be honest. If you give me a P&L that's 4 pages long, I'm not going to do much with it because it's too much data to make decisions that I need to.
For sure.
Timely decisions. There's a point in time, right, when we're setting our budget for the year, great time to deep dive, and we're going to look at every vendor. We're going to look at everything.
Right.
But on a month-to-month basis, I got 15 minutes to make decisions based off the financial data that I have. That thing needs to be exactly what I need to know.
For sure. 100%. And so, you are now part of MWACA.
Yep.
Tell me how that happened.
Yeah. So we were with ASA Illinois way back when. We did a lot of presentations for them. So kind of year-end tax planning, how to structure your chart of accounts, how to look at a financial statement. We were more of a presenter for ASA Illinois.
Okay.
When ASA Illinois disbanded, became Midwest Auto Care Alliance Chicagoland chapter, that's when I joined on the board. I had a few clients that were already part of it, and they said, Eric, you're super passionate about the automotive industry. I think you'd be a great addition.
Okay.
So I joined, just started volunteering. I mean, I've sat through some diagnostic training classes, and I'll tell you what, that gives me a whole lot of respect for today's automotive technician. Has to be, I think, a lot smarter than me to go and follow all those things that you need to do to figure out what's going on with the car. These cars are dang complex.
Yeah.
And I think I wish every single person that owns a car would have to sit through one of those classes just to see what you have to do to figure out why something isn't working correctly.
For sure. And one of the things we've been talking a lot about lately is that it kind of looks from where we sit that what auto repair shops need to charge needs to be a lot higher based on the complexity of what they're doing. And I know that's uncomfortable for the consumer to hear, but I think we're miles behind where we should be compared to the complexity and the liability we face. And I have a feeling you look at numbers all day long and you say, okay, when are we going to fix this? Like, this isn't working here. Like, we need to, and I mean, you can get the numbers out of the bottom line, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of squeezing to get those numbers out of the bottom line,
Exactly. Just charge a fair amount.
Yeah,
Sometimes
absolutely.
The formula's pretty simple.
For sure. So, we're here today to talk about a really cool class. I've been to the class. David, have you been to the class yet?
No, not yet.
So tell us what's happening. Tell us what's going on, and then we'll dig into that class a little bit because it pertains to exactly what we've been talking about all along.
Yeah, totally. So, with our relationship with the Institute, actually we heard that they were coming into town to put on the Leadership Intensive Series class. Yeah. It's a 3-day event. Michael Smith from the Institute's coming to talk for 3 days for, I think the class is if you're a Midwest Auto Care Alliance member, or if you're an Institute member, it's about $1,300 for 3 days with that much knowledge in that room. Oh my God, you're going to get a ton of value out of that.
He is a smart dude.
Oh, just the fact you can go up and ask him questions for 3 days.
Dude, I'm telling you. So I sat through this class, and I'm not going to lie to you. And I have told him this. The first time I heard him speak, I was a little turned off by some of the things he said. And I said, and I've made a reel about this, and it's not out yet. I'll release it soon. But, and as a matter of fact, we talked about it in the last podcast we did. I went to Michael and I said, Michael, you're talking about all this selling shops and everything else. And I said, it feels like you're coming in trying to get people to sell their shops. And that's not what our associations are about. And he said, no, sir. I will work on refining this if I need to help you understand what I'm trying to do, because that's not what I'm trying to do. And I said, well, what are you trying to do? He said, Lucas, I see all of these people in business that they think, oh, I just want to be the technician. And then they get to the point they can't be the technician anymore. And if they want to grow, if they want to have enough revenue to be able to have a life, they have to be the service advisor or the manager, something. And so they grow, and then they get into the service advisor role, and they have to grow again. And all these things they said they would never do, they end up having to do because it's just the nature of business. And he said, but the problem is one day something happens that they didn't prepare for. They didn't know was coming. One day they have to retire. They're forced to retire. They get sick. They have a heart attack, anything, right? They lose a spouse. Anything could happen. And they're not prepared for what comes next. And he said, do you know how many people are coming to the Institute at 65 years old saying, I thought I was going to sell my business and retire, but you're telling me my business isn't worth anything. Yep. Right? And I'm like, oh shit. This is what we've been talking about all along. Right? And I was looking at it completely differently. I was looking at it like he was trying to convince people to sell their businesses. So I went to Leadership Intensive and I sat through that class and I realized what he's teaching is what is the value of human equity? What is the value of human capital? Why is it important? And how do we make businesses which are human-centric? Because human-centric businesses work. And profit-centric businesses, they work for a time and they'll make the owner a lot of money, but they're never long-term, right? They never continue to do what they're doing. And so how do we make the business valuable? So if something does happen, if you do want to sell it, if you do want to retire, how do we lead people? And how do we do what's best for them? And I'm going to tell you what, this is a powerful class. I mean, I sat through it. David picks on me. He said they must have used like some kind of big word in it or something, because for you to say it's an intense class, it's got to be like they said, what's 2 + 2? And you checked out, you know? But I mean, I'm going to tell you, I think somebody'd probably have to take this class 3 times to pick up everything that's in this class. It's an intense class.
Absolutely. I mean, I know they're doing even a DISC assessment on every attendee. And, for those who don't know about DISC assessment, it's just a personality assessment that puts you in one of 4 quadrants. And now you can shade into other quadrants, and you have a primary and a secondary. Yeah. But, I mean, you could spend a whole day plus just learning on what that actually means and how to use that in your business. And at our firm, we've been using DISC assessments for probably about a decade. Right. We have a wheel down in our lunchroom that's got everybody placed on there that tells you what your personality is, essentially, and how do you deal with somebody who might be what we call up in the D quadrant versus somebody who's in an S quadrant. So you got a dominant and a support personality type person, and how those people need to communicate and work successfully together. Yeah. Now think about how powerful that could be at your service advisor level, working with a customer, or how about even a service advisor working with a technician? Yeah, absolutely. And if you're going to lead your team like that, you need to understand how that program works, how people think, and how do they work together cohesively. And that's one small takeaway that you'll get out of the session. For sure. And, I took my manager. And I one of the most impactful things coming back is we're riding on the plane. I pick on him all the time about this. I hear somebody sniffling and snotting. I've got my earbuds in, and I'm like, who in the world is this? I pull my earbud out, and I look over, and it's him. Oh, no. And I'm like, bro, what's up? And he said, buddy, I've gone my whole life, and my only goal was the company goal. I never thought about who I wanted my kids to be. I never thought about any of this other stuff that they brought up in this class. Like, this is big stuff. And so it brought an awareness to me, because one of the things Michael talked about is like, hey, what's your intrinsic motivator? Because money's not an intrinsic motivator. So what is your employee's intrinsic motivator? And I think that business often forgets or fails to look at what motivates our people. We think it's money. We think it's this thing, and we just throw this thing at them and go do the thing, but it's rarely money. Yeah. And we give titles, and we think that the title is the thing, and it gives them this ability to feel inflated. It gives them this ability to feel like they're making progress, they're moving. And so Michael says, wouldn't it be better if we really understood where they wanted to go in life and use the business as resources, which really don't cost us anything more, right? Like, it's something we can provide them to make their life substantially better, and we can turn this industry on its head. We can make this industry a better place to be because we realize who they are, where they want to go, what it is they want to be, right? Absolutely. And I think that that's something that is so lost in business today, is that we focus on our goals. We focus where we want the business to go. We never focus on where the people in the business want to go and use its resources to accomplish that. And so we just keep giving these massive paychecks, and we keep growing the paycheck more and more. And I'm not saying don't grow the paycheck. I'm just saying it's short-sighted. In some cases, we have other resources we can pour into them that are far more effective at accomplishing what it is they want to do. Absolutely. The paycheck's the easy, right? That's the easy answer is just pay them more money, throw more money at the problem. That's the easiest thing, especially if you are generating cash flow and you have the money to do that. It's an easy, quick answer. But oftentimes it's not the best answer, right? How many times do they do surveys around, how happy are people in different earning brackets? And obviously, right, shelter and safety is a basic human need. Yeah. So we got to get past that bar. But once you're beyond that bar, I believe in every study that I've read, the maximum happiness happens within a bell curve.
Yeah.
And that's above basic need, enough financial stability for basic need, and far beyond, and ends far before, the top percentage earners.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a documentary where Warren Buffett talks about it, and he was talking about, well, why do you still drive the old Cadillac? Why do you still eat at McDonald's? Why do you still live in the house you lived in 1960? And he said, because money has no utility to me. Right? It's paper. And I can live my life and be just as happy as the guys with 5 yachts. And I could go buy 5 yachts right now. Right. And I mean, there's no doubt that dude's got enough money. He could buy whatever he wanted. Right. Exactly. They're stacking cash big time. But, it has no utility. And so I think in this class, what I learned is let's do some research and understand what does have utility. Let's understand what's important to us and make sure that we're utilizing what we have in front of us to accomplish that. And I just think that that's so lost upon so many. And that's why this class is powerful. Because what are we seeing in the industry right now? We're seeing massive dissatisfaction in all of the employees who work in this industry. Now, people are going to say, no, you're not seeing that. No, I mean, look at the turnover, right? And look at the shortage, whatever you want to call it. There is very clearly something happening. And there's very clearly a toxic culture that sets up in a lot of auto repair shops. And I'm guilty of doing things that have set that up before. And so I guess the thing is this is about learning a way to do what's best for your people. Right? And I think that's huge. I think that's something that so many of us miss.
And at the end of the day, right, that's leadership, right? It is how do you put people in the place where they're going to have the most self-actualization at work?
Yeah.
And the needs go out, like you said, a lot more beyond just money.
Yeah, money's what, 7th on the list? He teaches that in the class. Money's 7th on the list. And the technicians always say, no, it's not. It's number 1.
Yeah.
No, it's down the list. And I got myself in trouble because I've brought this up a couple times in the group, and I'm like, what is an intrinsic motivator? And they're like, I don't know. Well, it's not money. Intrinsic motivators are what money pays for, dear. Right? And they don't like that. They don't like that at all, because then they have to think about what the money's paying for. And so if we're going to raise up solid human beings, because I'm going to tell you, I think a business has a responsibility to make this country a better place. And I think that we are citizens of this country as business owners. And so as we begin to take and step our country to the right direction, we have to build up people who are continuing to make the country a better place. There's a percentage of those people who work for you who will go and start a business. I would love to be teaching my guys who might go start their own business. Hey, listen, let's make sure that we're teaching you how to run a good business. Let's make sure we're teaching you how to be profitable so you can feed your family, so you don't go and trash the industry reputation. What does this look like? Right? And I think that that's where we lost it. And you know how many guys say, I don't want to teach them how to do that. They might be my competitor. Good. Mm-hmm. Right? 70% of the cars on the road today are repaired by the independent repair shops. And there's something like 300 million cars on the road, something like that, maybe more than that. And how many repair shops are there? There's something like a total of 700,000 repair shops.
Yeah.
Do the math, right? That's dealers and everybody. Do the math. There's plenty of cars to work on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're not in competition.
What? And it's so funny because within within the Midwest Auto Care Alliance,
yeah,
we see so many shop owners that are hesitant to join an association like that, where you could do the shared learning.
Yeah.
With other shop. What a better way what the best way to learn is to learn with your peers.
Yes. Absolutely.
the absolute fear of I'm going to give away something to my quote unquote competitor it's just mind blowing. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And you know what? When you sit on the board, right? And you know what this is like now. The board is a very, very powerful learning experience, right? Because like ASTA, I sat on the board with Mike Allen, Mark Pons, Emby Dowd, right? Brilliant minds in the automotive space. Big names in the automotive space. Guys, 16, 17, 18 stores.
Yeah.
Now, you want to talk about gaining some perspective. You sit on that board and our treasurer, buddy, I mean, he went to school for accounting, and he's running a company with hundreds of millions of dollars of income. And you start picking their brain, you start watching what they're doing, you start watching what they're saying, you will become successful just by paying attention to what they're doing. Absolutely. Right? And so to be able to network with that group, and you go to those meetings, you go to those trainings, you begin to grow within that group. And I don't think people understand it. Those guys on the board are volunteers. Mm-hmm. They're doing this to make the industry a better place. They're doing this to help the shops in those ranks. And these associations make a tremendous difference in where our industry is going. Absolutely. And so it frustrates me so bad when I see these small mom and pop shops. Well, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to be engaged with that. Right. The reason you don't have time is because you're not putting the work in right now to make a difference in your business. And they will continually work and work and work and work. And it's like, this is the definition of insanity. I don't have time to eat, sleep, breathe, but I'm not going to take a minute to slow down, analyze the business, and get it in a better position. What, I mean, is it that you don't want to do that? Maybe that's what that is. I don't know. I mean, do you see that with accounting clients?
Well, I mean, look how many people are afraid to go to the doctor because they know they have a problem.
Yeah.
We see it. Accounting clients, right? They know they have a problem. The last thing they want to do is to go to the person that can help them. It's like, hey, I have a problem in my shop, right? My technicians aren't well trained. My finances are in a mess. I don't know how to lead, recruit new employees or my current employees. I have these problems, and I'm petrified to go. And I think it's maybe expose myself or just deal with, hey, this is what we have going on. And the crazy part is these boards are filled with a group of people that want nothing else. I mean, they're volunteering their time to do nothing else but just to help their peers.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll pour into those shops, right? Mm-hmm. Like our little group out here at ASTA, man, they go shop to shop to shop trying to help other shops in North Carolina. And not just North Carolina, they'll go anywhere trying to help shops, trying to lift them up, saying, hey, listen, I've been right where you're at. Let me help you. And some people take it so offensively that people would think that they need help, but that's ego. Absolutely. That's pride, right? And until you're willing to let go of that, David's coaching with Cecil. We've not been able to get anybody else either willing to coach David or that David was willing to coach with. I don't know what happened here, but David's coaching with Cecil. And some of that comes back to finding the right person to help you, the right person to pour into you, to kind of take things and move it in the right direction. But it also takes acknowledging things aren't perfect. And look, if you find a perfect auto repair shop, buddy, you found a diamond in the rough, I guess. I don't know where you found it. But you know, I had a business coach years ago, and he said, Lucas, people are in love with their problems. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, all these employee problems you've got, some people are in love with their problems. They don't want to let go of them. It gives them something to talk about. It gives them something to be. It becomes part of their identity, this problem. And it stood out to me because I was kind of in love with some of my problems. And I was unwilling to let him go, but it was like a light switch flipped when he said that. Yeah. Okay, if this is a problem, how do I solve the problem and move on? Let's get to the next problem. He always talked about like, hey, life's full of problems. Let's get to better problems. Stop messing with the stupid ones over here. Let's get to good ones. And I just think about how much those associations and how effective they are at getting us there and taking those next steps. And so I think it's huge that Mwaka's bringing this leadership intensive class, because if you're willing to sit through this class and you're willing to learn, you're willing to listen and go back and implement 3 things you learned in this class, it's life changing. I mean, I'm going to tell you what, I'm sure you've worked with some big clients, and I'm sure you've worked with some very powerful people over the years.
Absolutely.
And I took my manager who was a service manager at a Honda and had been way up in corporate America. And he walked out of that class and he said, that man is a very smart man. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I have been to a lot of training, and I've been in Fortune 50 and Fortune 500 myself. And I've never seen anything like that. And that's powerful stuff. And so if the listeners and the people in your organizations around you aren't sending their people to this class, it is a huge disappointment. I think it's a failure of leadership to not send your people to this.
It 100% is, and it's super accessible, right? It's in Chicago. Chicago's a very easy city to get to. O'Hare or Midway, you can fly in if you're not even local. I know they're going to be doing this around the country too.
We're doing one at my shop in October.
Very cool. Yeah, we're so it's super accessible. We have a ton of shops in the Chicagoland area. There's no reason why this class shouldn't be sold out.
I agree.
At the amount of value, it's just. I've been advocating we send everybody at my firm, but that'd be a big check to write to go do that. We'd probably be better off having Michael come in and do a one-on-one session with us.
I think so. I've also considered how to make that happen myself, and I'm like, oh man, that's a lot of money. I'm hoping my technicians, as they work, will be able to pick up pieces and parts of it because we're going to do it in the shop. Yeah. I don't know. You say Chicago's easy to get to. The first time I went to Chicago, I walked around the rental car and I was telling the little dude, I was like, hey man, there's a dent on this car. He said, brother, if you can find a car in this rental car garage that doesn't have a dent on it, you let me know, because I ain't found one yet. Y'all got some narrow lanes, really narrow lanes in Chicago.
It changes who you are as a person once you drive into Chicago. Like once you hit that zip code,
I loved
you're
it.
a whole new driver.
Yeah. I love the adversity and the challenge and the competitive nature of the drivers in Chicago. I thought it was phenomenal. Nobody else in the car enjoyed it a bit. You just kind of nudge them out of the way. It's great.
That's why they did a rally race in downtown a few years back, and I was like, everybody there that's watching it, they're just learning for what they're going to do on Tuesday.
Bro, I was going to say, I thought it was a rally race every day. What are you talking about? I thought it was awesome, dude. I really did. And hey, listen, here's the cool thing about the Chicago deal. It's like you can go to the Science Museum, coolest science museum in the country, like by far. There are some really cool museums. David says Chicago has the best food of anywhere. Isn't that what you said, David? Pennsylvania. Okay. Pennsylvania.
Chicago, just high-end restaurants, Chicago's got the best in the country.
Yeah. For sure. There's some awesome steakhouses in Chicago. I'm almost thinking about flying up. I won't come to the class, but I'll just eat. It gives me an excuse.
Summertime Chicago is the time of the year to be there too, right? It'll probably be maybe 80 degrees, very low humidity. The wind off the lake gives the perfect chill. It's a beautiful time to be there.
For sure. Now, hey, if folks want to sign up for the class, where are they going to go to sign up?
Yeah, if you are if you're either an Institute member or if you're an Institute member, Institute website. So we are theinstitute.com. There'll be a little pop-up right on the homepage for the Leadership Intensive series. If you're a Milwaukee member, through the Milwaukee website, so Midwest Auto Care Alliance, I tell everybody, don't type it in directly in the browser. Go to Google or something and find your way there. You'll see that on your list of classes for the Chicagoland chapter. I actually put in Google Midwest Auto Care Alliance or Milwaukee MWACA Institute. It should pop it right up. You get that, again, preferred pricing as either an Institute member or a Milwaukee member. And if you're not a Milwaukee member yet and you'd like to be, great time to register, right? The savings will pay for your 1 year membership right there.
Very cool. Absolutely. I love that. Now, hey, before you go, I would love for you to drop just a little bit of knowledge. You work with a lot of shops. Give us your top 5 things you think shops are doing wrong or that they could do to make their lives better. I'm going to put you right on the spot, Eric.
5 items that they can make their lives better. And I'm going to start with, I'll go with as basic as they get, right? First, you need a shop management system, and in my opinion, a cloud-based shop management system. It'd be silly to go to a desktop-based in this world. You need to be able to access that whenever you need to, wherever you need to. Once you have that installed, use a parts pricing matrix.
Yes.
That's the simplest thing you can do to make money. I can't tell you how many shops we've seen that just said, hey, I'm going to mark up 100, double the price of whatever part I have.
Yep.
And that doesn't work. Obviously, you're not going to mark up a $3,000 engine another $3,000. It's not going to fly. So you need to use that matrix to get to the actual need you need to for a gross profit.
Yep.
Calculate your real cost per hour for a technician. Meaning, if they're at 75% efficiency, you're still paying them for 100% of hours that they're working throughout the year. You need to know that number to know what labor rate I need to charge. So you can use that historically. You can say, this is what I paid my technicians for a year, divide by how many hours I sold. That's my average cost per hour. What am I? That's 4.
Oh, that was 3. I think you're on 3.
That was
if
3.
not, we'll get a bonus.
Chart of accounts. Chart of accounts set up for your P&L. Super simple. We need parts sales, labor sales, probably have sublet and maybe some shop supplies. All right. 4 items there. Those same 4 items should be your 4 cost of goods sold items. So you should have 4 and 4. That's the simplest thing. Sales tax is not an income nor an expense. It shouldn't be in there.
Right.
Have those 4 things. Every other expense lives in your overhead bucket. That's simple. It doesn't matter any other than the specific naming, the account numbers, whatever. That doesn't matter. You need the 4 and 4 there.
Absolutely. Now,
really quick.
I've got a question here. So this has been a bit of a debate.
Yep.
Advisors and managers, owners, CSRs, where do they go?
Yeah. That goes a lot. So I have my own specific opinion around that.
Okay.
A lot of it depends, right? Are you in a peer group? Have you measured it previously a certain way? Are you in a coaching company? If you format your chart of accounts one way and you're being coached another way, now you're getting 2 different opinion sources. At the end of the day, right, you can, whether your service advisor is up in COGS or it's down in operating expenses, you can pick that number and say, okay, it's 10% of gross sales, whether it's an either or, right? And maybe your gross profit goal with advisors and COGS is, 50%. If it's not in COGS, it's 60%. Right. Yep. So you just need to know where you want to put that, and you got to stick to it and know that your measurement number and your way you evaluate your shop has to change depending on how you format it.
Got it.
I do like service advisors up in cost of goods.
Oh man, it's supposed to be in expenses.
Now I can get a little picky, right? If an owner's sitting in a production seat, I want to, even if we're not paying you that amount. Right. I want to do a journal entry, and we're going to run that in your books every month to quote unquote be a placeholder for that wage cost that you're doing.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you something I see a lot of small shops do that I think is dangerous. They go to work and they don't pay themselves. And I think that is one of the most dangerous things, even as a single operator, that you can do. Right. I think you should be paying taxes. And I'm not saying that you should be paying taxes. David's going to freak out when I say that. It's not about paying taxes. I think you should run yourself on payroll, right? I'm even a fan of either having disability insurance or paying workers' comp on yourself, because you never know what's going to happen, right?
And then a car for sure.
Absolutely. And so then on top of that, if you don't have that number in there, you will falsely believe that you're profitable. And so then if something does happen to you or you need to hire an employee, you don't have a real understanding of what it costs to have an employee. And you know how many employees that I have had that I'll talk to and I'm like, you don't understand like how much it costs to employ you. They're like, no, you just pay me. No, that's not what it costs to employ you. There's a lot of additional monies that go into giving you a paycheck every week. Yeah. And then they said, well, just give me a 1099. Sorry. Did I say that? Yeah, I said that. My bad. Hey, can
20%, right? 20% of whatever you pay somebody, it's going to cost you an extra 20% to pay their benefits, their insurances, and everything.
Yes.
So many benefits.
Thumbnail number.
And look, a ton of technicians say technicians used to be paid 50%. Honey, they're still paid 50%. If you're paying them 30%, they're making 50. They just don't understand they didn't get the money because David gave it all to Uncle Sam. Damn you, David. David, how do you feel about paying taxes?
So here's the plan. Everybody goes hourly at minimum wage. And then they're going to get paid overtime hours for the amount of hours that they work, right? So we're going to go to like an overtime hour structure to try to maximize the money they get in overtime if this bill goes through. Right now it's tips. Right now it's tips. Tips, no tax on tips, which is awesome. Yep. I'm all for that. Great. I'm going to be tipping fat tips to everybody. Fat tips all the way around. F the IRS. I didn't mean that, IRS. I love you guys. You guys are great. You guys are doing God's work.
Yes.
Anyway.
We love the IRS.
We love the IRS. Tips. Tips, no tax on tips. So right now they're trying to push the tax, no tax on Social Security and no tax on overtime pay. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. They stop taxing overtime. That will absolutely blow up blue collar work and like every hard working American out there that's not on that's working blue collar work is going to absolutely thrive with no taxes on overtime. That's going to be awesome. And every company is going to find some way to maximize overtime pay and stop and lower taxable income. Every company is going to finagle their salaries to be like, hey, 80% of your salary is going to be overtime pay now. Sorry, and everybody will benefit. Everybody.
Eric, can you tell that David loves taxes?
Create a company and how that figures out how to convert salary compensation to an overtime compensation. How to
there's going to be some kind of calculation. You take their base salary and I'll figure something out. I'm sure that you can come up with a spreadsheet. Hell, I'm going to ask ChatGPT how to do it, and then they're going to come up with some kind of calculation. And then that's a great idea. We're just going to go from company to company and be like, hey, you want to maximize your benefits here on this new tax law? Let's do it. Because no company wants to pay payroll taxes. It is a bane of my existence, just sucking the life out of you every single day.
David,
it makes you depressed to show up to work because you're like, David, today I'm going to do all this work to then send it to Uncle Sam. Why? 6 changes in Guatemala. That's why.
So here's what's going to happen. David's going to give them all Apple Watches or Google Watches, right? Or Android Watches. He's going to have it all set up, and he's going to pay them $7.25 an hour every night for 8 hours a night to monitor their health. It's going to be a study.
No. I'm going to start paying them from the minute they get up to go to work. So like 6 a.m. you get up. Great. Turn on the little Apple Watch, flick the little thing on, and bloop, starts clocking you in. I'm going to clock them in at 6 o'clock because, I should compensate you for your time getting ready for work because you wouldn't be getting ready for work otherwise. And then your commute is also going to get paid hourly. And then by the time you get to work on Tuesday, we're into overtime pay, buddy. We're into overtime pay. And then, you worked 72 hours? I mean, you were only here for 40, but you were 72 hours clocked in. And look at that. I just gave you a raise. And all of it paid tax free.
128 hours a week in overtime wages and 40 hours a week of straight time.
Love it.
Hey.
Or if you can get away with 30, right? Slap another 10 hours.
Hey, that's going to be the new paradigm, dude. I'm just telling you right now. I'm going to be, every single company is going to be like, hey, because that's always been the knock, right? Yeah. Why am I not getting compensated for driving to work? I wouldn't be coming to work. Like, why am I not getting compensated for all this extra time just getting ready for work, thinking about work, dealing with work? Like, all that is non-compensated time. Sitting in traffic imagine you got to work. You got to drive 30, 45 minutes. And Lucas walks out the door. He's at work. But like some of us have to drive to work. And hell, I used to drive 45 minutes to work. 45 minutes every single day. So an hour and a half of my day gone because I had to get to work. And I was salary, so I didn't have a choice. Like, whatever, right? I'm going to get screwed. But all these companies are going to be like, hey, guess what? We're going to start paying you to drive to work. We're going to start paying you to get ready for work. We're going to give you 45 minutes every single day paid. Every single day. Just a shower, shit, and shave just so you can get to work. It's paid now. Paid. So do it to the best of your ability. Don't come up here stinking.
I love it. I'm going to have a full-time job and just figuring out the math on how to make that work. So I'm all aboard.
Yep.
And this is the kind of stuff you can learn by joining a trade association. Okay? Like you can get knowledge like this dropped on you every day.
Get it passed. Get it passed. Let's do this.
So you're at number 4. Let's give you number 5. I mean, we said 5.
So I guess we'll stay on brand with that. If they don't pass the overtime law, right? And we talked about paying yourself. That's a conversation you need to have with your accountant. Am I structured right as an entity type? And am I paying myself right? I can't tell you how many shops knock on our door and they're a sole proprietor, maybe a sole member LLC. They got $200K plus of profit flowing through. They're paying a ton of extra payroll taxes. I mean, we're talking 20 grand a year plus in tax savings. We call it low hanging fruit. It's right there. All you got to do is file an election form and change the way you pay yourself. And it's 20 grand a year you save in taxes in that type of situation.
Wow.
Not necessarily. It's the low-hanging fruit. And I know that's a lot of money for a shop to be making, especially without proper advice. But, I mean, we see that probably almost once a month.
And here's the thing, is that a lot of people go to the old hometown accountant. And just like we work with shops who are forward-thinking, and they're going to training, and they're learning on advanced automobiles and how to fix things nobody else can fix, right? Things that the dealer can't fix.
Yeah.
And so are you really seriously going to tell me you're going to go to an accountant who is not even trying to be that? Are you going to the equivalent of an accountant that's a parts changer? Seriously? I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like. Because they don't even check it, right? They're just like, here it is. Here's your numbers. Good. Thank you. Have a good day.
You have and put it in the forms, and here you go. And
exactly.
Parts changer. I love that. I'm going to use that analogy from now on.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just, they get in the motions and they do that. And this is what we do. And this is how we do it. And that's how it works. They don't even look. And if you don't say anything, and so like, I take it as like going to the doctor. I'm not supposed to be the expert, right? Look, man, you don't want me being a doctor. I'm barely a decent technician, probably not even decent, but like, come on now. When you go to your accountant, you need somebody who knows. You need somebody who's going to look for those things. Mm-hmm. And if your accountant's not coming to you regularly and saying, hey, I'm concerned about this. Look at this number's not right. What about this? And not communicating with you. If you don't have some communication back and forth, but it's time to find a new accountant.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And unfortunately, half of them are victims of their business model, right? Yeah. And it's very, very similar to, some shop owners that run it, where they're just trying to do everything themselves.
Yes.
All at the same time. There's no systems, processes, procedures, checkpoints. Nothing is formalized, documented, and they're just flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you a little story here at the very end about that exact thing. So my family business, some really shady stuff happened, right? And my dad was caring for my mother, who was terminally ill. And that went on for about 5 years. And one day, this letter comes in the mail. I'm going to see mom and dad in the hospital. And this letter comes in the mail from the IRS. And I was taking it to dad. And I said, hey, Dad, you need to deal with this. And he said, what do you mean? Everybody tells me it's okay. And I said, Dad, trust me, I've not paid my taxes before. They don't send you that if everything's okay. I promise. Yeah. You need to figure out. What he didn't know is his longtime confidant and accountant and fantastic human being, amazing human being, had gotten cancer himself and had not been in the office. And so the level of care and attention to detail that had been paid to my dad's stuff in the past had not been paid. Now, it's not on them, right? At the end of the day, you're a business owner. That falls on you. That you can't. I remember being in court one time, and the judge looked at the dude at the stand, and he said, ignorance is not a defense in the eyes of the law. Just because you didn't know doesn't mean it's not your fault, right? Like it's still your fault. And so as they began to work through everything, they found that they had not had the payroll taxes paid in 5 years to the state or to the IRS. Okay.
That's one thing that somebody's going to knock on your door and say, hey.
Oh, yeah. Sales tax too. Sales tax too. And it was all because, A, there was nobody watching the financials on their end. And it was because the accountant didn't have a system built. The team at the accountant's office is phenomenal, but there was no process, no policy, no procedure to say, hey, something appears to be wrong. I need to alert you to this.
Yep.
Right? There was nothing there. And so that is why you have to work with a solid firm, especially if you do not understand this stuff. You need to work with somebody who knows what the hell they're doing, or you will absolutely find yourself at some point in a hot mess. And it can be expensive to get out of because the federal government does not care at all.
Nope.
Whose fault it is. You're paying the bill.
Absolutely. Wow.
So, well, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. And hopefully this class is full, and we look forward to talking to you again here in the future.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, guys.